Welcome into the paint, everybody. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. I'm your host, Dan Tanner, for reaction to Nuggets and Warriors. Wow. Best win of the season. What a wild last 5 days it's been for the Denver Nuggets. Who the hell is this team, everybody? Who are the Denver Nuggets? This was a wild win. One of the most entertaining basketball games that I've seen all season long from this team. And of all of the teams that I thought they were going to get the win on this road trip, this was not one of them. No Nikola Jokic tonight, no Jamal Murray, no Christian Brown. So they're missing 3 of their 5 starters. The only 2 starters playing in tonight's game were Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. So they had Hunter Tyson starting. They had Russell Westbrook starting. This was an absolutely insane game. Peyton Watson was starting as well. They had Aaron Gordon as the, I guess, de facto center tonight, although the way the Nuggets played tonight was pretty positionless basketball. But what a wild last 5 days for the Denver Nuggets. This has been a roller coaster of a ride. So just to go down memory lane, in fact, we'll actually take this back a full week. So last Monday, the Nuggets get a 140-127 win in Oklahoma City, okay, on the second night of a back-to-back in OKC. Then they come home after a couple of days off to play the Minnesota Timberwolves. They lose that game by 20 points. All the starters played in that game, other than Aaron Gordon. Then on Friday was the worst win of the season. In fact, it was one of the most embarrassing wins I can remember in the Nikola Jokic era, where they barely beat the Lakers B team, possibly C team, with 4 of their 5 starters out. If the Lakers would have won that game, it would have been very similar to what the Nuggets were able to do in Golden State tonight. And then obviously on Saturday, they lose at home to the worst team in basketball, the Washington Wizards, 126-123. Jordan Poole hits that 35-foot three-pointer ball game. And, at that point, the Nuggets are now 0-2 against the Washington Wizards, who have the worst record in the NBA. Well, now they're going on a 4-game road trip. And if you remember, back on Saturday night, after the Nuggets lost to the Wizards, I said that I think that this 4-game road trip could be the best thing that happened to this team at this point in the season. Now, with that being said, I didn't realize that they weren't going to have Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and Christian Brown to start out this road trip. But man, where this ranks as far as shocking wins for the Denver Nuggets in the Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Malone era, it's right up there. Scotty and Chris Marlowe were mentioning a lot about the Magnificent Seven in Utah a couple years ago, where the Nuggets had 7 available players in that game. They go into Utah, a place they're historically awful, and they're able to pull that out. And, I kind of get the comparison, but I kept saying, the big difference between that game in Utah a couple of years ago and tonight's game was the game in Utah. They had Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic in that basketball game. They were a part of the 7 freaking dudes, as Kaz said. They didn't have either of those guys tonight. They didn't have their 2 best players on the floor tonight, and they were able to get a win against a Golden State team that had, going into tonight's game, had won 7 games in a row. Okay? Hottest team in the NBA. Since they traded for Jimmy Butler, they're 14-2 overall since that trade entering tonight. And Jimmy actually missed one of those games, which they lost. So going into tonight's game, since they acquired Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat, with Jimmy in the lineup, the Golden State Warriors were 14-1 going into this game. They have, in that span, they have the 5th best offense in the NBA and the 2nd best defense. this is a win that I think can really not only propel the Nuggets into the playoffs, but I think this is a win that's really going to get the Nuggets out of whatever funk they've been in. Now, look, the starters, obviously, the Joker, Christian Brown, and Jamal Murray didn't play, so they weren't a part of that, but they're all there. They're on the road trip. And, who knows who's going to end up playing on Wednesday against the Lakers in Los Angeles. But I'm telling you, this is a win that I think could be really monumental in the season, where we're going to look back on this game and say that was the game that really turned things around for Denver. I mean, the roller coaster this team has put everybody on this year is really quite incredible. There's been moments this year where I'm like, there's no doubt in my mind this team is a legitimate championship contending team. And then there's moments where I'm like, can this team get out of the first round of the playoffs? Are they going to fall down into the play-in tournament? I mean, these are questions we were asking just 2 nights ago on this show after the loss to the Washington Wizards. This team is just absolutely wild. What a fun game. Russell Westbrook had 10 assists in the first half. I thought, look, the Nuggets didn't really do themselves any favors in tonight's game as far as the turnovers go. I mean, they were turning the ball over like crazy. I mean, absolutely bonkers how much the Nuggets were turning the ball over. Aaron Gordon had 7 turnovers himself. Russell Westbrook had 7 turnovers. Those two guys combined had 14 turnovers. And the thing with the Nuggets turnovers tonight, like Peyton Watson had a turnover. He was just dribbling the ball up the court and it falls out of his hand. Like, a lot of them were really unforced errors. You saw that Vlatko Čančar sort of panicky pass there in the fourth quarter, but Golden State really couldn't take advantage of it because they also had 20 turnovers, same as Denver. Steph Curry had 7 turnovers. So that, I thought, really was just, one of these really wacky games where both teams just couldn't seem to hang on to the basketball. And, luckily for the Nuggets, they were just able to capitalize a little bit more than the Golden State Warriors did tonight. All right, we got my guy KJ on the show here. KJ, welcome to In the Paint. KJ Granderson, everybody.
Hello.
KJ, who the hell is this team? Seriously, who are these guys? 2 nights ago, KJ.
And what have you done with the real Nuggets?
2 nights ago, we're talking about not only 2 nights ago, but 2 nights before that, 4 nights ago, in a win against the C team of the Lakers. Scott says it was the B team. I say it was the C team. It's a somber post-game show after a win. Then they lose for the second time this year to the worst team in basketball. And then they go on the road to Golden State, a team that's won 7 in a row. They're 14-2 since the Jimmy Butler trade. One of those games Jimmy Butler missed and they lost. So going into tonight's game, KJ, the Warriors were 14-1 with Jimmy Butler in the lineup. They had, in that span, the 5th best offense in the NBA and the 2nd best defense in the NBA. And the Nuggets go in there, no Nikola Jokic, no Jamal Murray, no Christian Brown, Julian Strawther's still out, and they take it to the Golden State Warriors. Like, man, this team is just such a roller coaster. Such a roller coaster. It's been a wild, wild season, and how different our tunes can change from one game. Let me ask you this. Do you think this is the kind of win, even though the big guns weren't in there tonight, that can get the Nuggets out of whatever funk they've been in and get them right as we head towards the playoffs?
Gosh, man. Dan, you're putting me in a position where I got to be a negative Nancy right off the top.
That's all right.
I'm going to say no, man. Like, this is their 9th straight win against Golden State. And I just think the Nuggets just naturally are a Golden State kryptonite. So I think this is more
Without
the
three of their starters, without their best two players, and their best defending guard. I
look,
mean, I
this
get
is
it. Like, this is a almost completely different team we saw here tonight playing Golden State.
well, listen, they were forced to do the one thing that they haven't been forced to do in a while, and it's actually use some effort and energy to win, right? There's nothing like
Yes.
effort that can carry you in moments where you just don't have the talent. And I promise I'm not trying to disrespect Jamal Joker or Christian Brown. But I think they have leaned on their offensive prowess for so long that I think they struggle with the idea that I have to commit every single possession defensively. And the truth of the matter is these guys who need the playing time, who are still fighting for their playoff rotation as that ninth or potential 10th man, depending on, foul trouble, things of that nature. These guys are competing, man. They know what's at risk here. They know what's on the line. And so these guys, they got it in the back of their minds that I've got to compete. Spencer Jones, where has this guy been all season? Defensively, this man was an absolute menace tonight. Peyton Watson, he finally stepped up, man. That was the P.Y. that we've come to love and know over the years. Aaron Gordon, being an absolute just two-way star like like the Nuggets traded for several years ago. And it's just, that's what makes this Nuggets team, that's what makes me that little slimmer of hope right in here. That's what that little slimmer of hope is still there. I struggle, like I said a couple post-game shows ago. I don't think they're contenders. But then there's nights like this, Dan, like you were just talking about, where I'm just like, are they? Are they? I don't know, man. The question is, maybe you can answer it for me, Dan. How do we get this effort and this sense of urgency out of them every night?
That's a great question, man. Because I will say, one of the things for me that was just like absolutely standing out was how much more effort there was from the Nuggets on especially on the defensive end of the floor, but really just kind of overall. And look, Nikola Jokic, when he's in there, plays at his pace, and that's one of the things that makes him so great. You can't speed him up, and he's still going to dominate you. Okay, so I don't want to frame this as like a negative thing, but it just kind of struck me watching the game. Like, that was the quickest the Nuggets have looked all season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and, I guess you could say it was small ball, and technically it was. But if you look at the lineup, like, Spencer Jones is actually much bigger than I thought he was. He's 6'7", pretty rangy, athletic dude.
Yep.
But what I think really helped the Nuggets tonight, especially on the defensive end, is the defense was really simplified. They weren't having to switch as much. They weren't having to cover each other's backs, if you will, because it didn't really matter who got matched up on who, because for the most part, everybody out there was roughly the same height.
Right.
Like, it really did just feel like it was more simplified.
Yeah.
So I think that's really what one of the kind of shocking things to me tonight was. So back to your original question. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know the answer to that question. How do you get the dudes that have been here for forever and won a championship and have done this, for a decade? That's got to come from them. It's got to be internal. Like, I don't think there is a way where you can, coach them up to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's now, look, I will say maybe all those dudes were there tonight watching this game. Maybe they look at that and say, wow, those guys played their asses off on the defensive end of the floor. Like, maybe we could take a little bit of that away from this. And sometimes, KJ, it's really hard to see your deficiencies when you're in it. But that's always kind of one of the things I like is when players are out and they kind of just have to watch. You see the game differently. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that can sort of jolt them a little bit to get their asses going on the defensive end. But other than that, like I don't really know the answer to that question. I mean, that's up to them. But wow, what a win!
I guess as we kind of discussed it a little bit more, Dan. I guess you're right. Like, could a spark be on the way? I mean, it's possible because we saw what happened after they lost to the Wizards the first time. They were able to kind of get on a little bit of a run. Jamal Murray was out. When he came back, we didn't see full Jamal Murray, but we saw more of the Jamal Murray we had come to, love and know over time, right? And so I'm hoping that maybe that same thing can happen this time. Since post All-Star break, we've seen Jamal, drop, 30 points here, 40 points there. But
54, whatever it was before the All-Star break.
Exactly, right before the All-Star break. And so we've seen it in spurts. Maybe this is kind of like that wake-up call, like you said, where they were out tonight, where he can kind of like sit back and see, this is how I need to fit into what this team needs from me. How do certain young players play off the ball? How do they play on the ball? As he's looking like, okay, this guy likes to cut around this angle. Excuse me. This guy prefers not to cut, right? It's like the little chess match you can see from the sideline that you just can't see when the ball is in your hands at the top of the key all the time. And so to your point, Dan, it's a potential, man. It's a potential. But I'd be lying to you if I said my confidence grew significantly after tonight. Do I believe that the Nuggets have it in them? Yes. Did they bring that reassurance back? Yes. Do I think they can go on a long run because now I feel like they magically hit some we're focused button? Not yet. Let's pump the brakes.
Yeah, no, I get you. And I don't think this automatically just erases what we saw over the last 5 days when the Nuggets had a 3-game homestand and lost by 20 to Minnesota, barely beat the C team Lakers, and then lost the second game of the year to the worst team in basketball. I don't think this is a win that just automatically erases that. And okay, let me ask you this, KJ. Would you have felt differently as far as like maybe they're back into the category of you have confidence that they can win a championship this year if that was just the regular starters in there tonight that did that to Golden State? Because like for me, it's like it's a great win, but Spencer Jones isn't going to be playing in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And like he was phenomenal tonight. Don't get me wrong, but he's not going to be in there in the playoffs. Hunter Tyson's not. I would imagine will not play in the playoffs, or if he does, it'll be in a very limited role. I just wonder if the starters were in there and they went in there and did this, if that would change your mind.
That's a great question, Dan. I would probably lean more so towards yes, just due in large part to the fact that, again, it's the constant conversation we always have. The starters know that everything begins and ends with them, like in the literal sense. And so I think seeing them probably put together this performance on both ends of the court would definitely be a lot more soothing. But if we're being honest, I think a lot of us, if we live in reality, if we allow ourselves to live in reality, Dan, we would say to ourselves, okay, you did it once. Can you do it again? So we would want to see at least a semblance of this, just a slim pickings of this versus the Lakers. Yeah. If you can do this against the Lakers, okay, now you're starting to reel people back in because they're like, okay, though it was without LeBron, Luka was in. You still dominated. You won the game by, let's call it 15 points. It was a solid defensive performance. You held the Lakers to under 110 points. Then, if these were the starters putting these games together like that, yes, I agree wholeheartedly. We'll see if the starters can jump right back in and maybe pick up where this C team left off today. Because I mean, we like you said, Dan, this was a great, motivation where everybody was, rolling in the same, direction today. But the problem is there's going to be another current that's going to come. And can guys have the mental fortitude to continue to do what you know, and that's the roll in the same direction, because that's the only way that you guys are going to get to the mountaintop.
How nice was it having Aaron Gordon back in this game? You know what this kind of reminded me of? This kind of reminded me of when Aaron Gordon was in Orlando and he just kind of had to do everything.
Yep.
Like, that's what we saw tonight. And my God, did he take over this basketball game really from start to finish? I mean, the Nuggets do not even come close to winning this game without Aaron Gordon. So I guess what I'm getting at here, KJ, is we all know how important Aaron Gordon is to this basketball team. But man, I think we might have been, or at least I might have been, undervaluing him, even though I understand how important he is. That has really been one of the X factors this year with the Nuggets, is how many games Aaron Gordon's been out. And I think we talked about this after the Wizards game, or maybe it was the Lakers game, because did Aaron Gordon play in the Wizards game? I can't even remember. They're all stringing together now.
If I remember correctly, he did not play in the Wizards game.
So we talked about like how important he is on the defensive end, and how he can guard 1 through 5. Mm-hmm. He's the Nuggets Swiss Army knife on that end of the floor.
Right.
That's very valuable, especially in the playoffs, because you're going to need to have a guy that can guard either Luka Doncic or LeBron effectively at any point in the game. And it used to be Anthony Davis and LeBron. Now it's Luka and LeBron. But that's the beauty of Aaron Gordon. He can do both. But offensively, man, like when Aaron Gordon has been in there this year, I believe he's shooting a career-high three-point percentage. He's shooting a career-high from the free throw line. He's over 80% from the free throw line this year.
It's got to be the first time in his career.
Oh, it's a career high. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he was awful from the line last year. I want to say he was like in the mid-60s, and that's something he really worked on over the summer. God, it just sucks seeing him miss so many games this year, because he put so much work in on his shot in offensive game this summer. You can see it when he's in there, man. Like, do you feel confident when Aaron Gordon shoots a 3 this year? I mean, I know I do. Like, take the 3, man. He's shooting them great. He was 4 of 6 tonight.
I'm with you 1,000%, Dan. This is the most confident I've ever felt. You can definitely tell that this summer he rolled out of bed and went right downstairs and just started shooting. I'm proud
must be
of
nice.
Him. Man, must be nice.
Roll out of bed, go shoot on your private court.
Listen, man, must be nice, man. I'm hoping
good for him.
I'm hoping I can just have a black top out back somewhere, but that's
like right next to your house. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, back to the story at hand, man. It is so great to have AG and to see this version of AG. Here's the truth. To go back to your original question, Dan, can we see this more often, or how often can we see this?
Can we see what?
AG kind of getting the takeover mode, and the answer
is okay. Even when the starters are in there, the regulars, I should say.
Well, that's the thing about it.
Yeah.
To answer that question, I think the answer is not often, because you have Jokic, who's pass first or second, but some nights it's the opposite. You got Jamal, who scored first, MPJ, who scored first, Russell Westbrook, who scored first, right? So there's at least 4 or 5 guys he's behind the pecking order in regards to score first. So I just think that the nights that we'll get a chance to see Aaron Gordon take over like this are so few and far between, because the other guys, they need the volume shooting. AG doesn't. His game has become so efficient now, he doesn't need that. The only problem is, if he does take that efficiency up to a volume level, then the other guys start to become less important because they don't do anything defensively well. Russell Westbrook can take charges, and he does the best that he can with standing in front of his defender. But, I mean, that's about it. The MPJ and respectfully, I say this, of course, MPJ and Jamal are absolutely useless defensively. And Jokic, I love him getting rebounds. Just keep getting
Don't
rebounds.
say disrespectfully.
Man.
Don't say disrespectful, or don't say respectfully. I mean, it's okay to be disrespectful every now and again, KJ. When it comes to Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr.'s defensive efforts.
Listen, man, it's on tape, man. Every single game is the same thing.
It has not been good this year. There's no doubt about that. I mean, man, like that's so true. And maybe that's something else that maybe gets unlocked tonight out of specifically Jamal Murray, because he's watching the game from the bench.
Right.
Now, look, I will say I was at the Wizards game. Jamal was in agonizing pain. I was shocked he came back into that game. I mean, and good for Jamal. I mean, he gutted it out. Like, that's, he was hurting, man. So who knows how long Jamal's going to be out. So maybe that gives some of the other guys a chance. But you did bring up Russell Westbrook there, KJ. 42 minutes tonight. What a warrior. Didn't shoot great. He took 9 threes, which just is wild to me. I mean, I kind of get it now, like seeing almost a full season of Russell Westbrook here in Denver. It'd be hard not to shoot it when nobody comes out to cover you on the 3-point line because nobody thinks you can make it. Like, I get it. I do. Now, I will say a couple of them were contested tonight. In fact, there was one in the fourth quarter, I believe, that he hit that was pretty well contested. So good for Russ.
Well, that was the one he just threw up a miracle.
Yeah, right. But like 2 of 9 from 3, not a great shooting night. But I mean, 11 rebounds, 16 assists. He had 10 assists by halftime. Look, he didn't shoot the ball great, but I thought Russell Westbrook was a really big catalyst in the Nuggets win tonight. In fact, real quick, let's go back out to San Francisco. Katie Wingy caught up with Russ on the court after the game.
All right, Russ, that was one of the hottest teams in the NBA coming into this game. You're down 3 starters. What was the mentality of those available to get this win?
Compete. Just go out and give the best we can, and we got a group that can compete with anybody any night if we compete and play hard, and we did that tonight.
Another triple-double for you, 16 assists. What was working for you as a facilitator out there?
Just doing a good job of trying to get guys involved. Had some costly turnovers late in the game, but my teammates picked me up, which is good. So.
The 3-point defense, I believe you held them to 24% from deep. Describe the execution and discipline that requires with that team.
Physicality, they're a good team. Obviously, they got a lot of great shooters, so we did a good job of making them play our game. I thought we did a good job of that.
I noticed you during huddles. You were playing with a lot of young players tonight. How did you lead in this game?
Just by talking of my example, by making sure they understand, instilling confidence in those guys. They work their butts off to get opportunity like tonight. Spencer, Hunter, all those guys did a great job of coming in and playing well. So
congrats on the win. Appreciate the time, Russ.
All right, so that was a really interesting comment there, KJ. Katie, great question from Katie. How did you help all these young guys? By talking. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like you said not by example, by talking. Nope. And and I'm sure he's not only just talking about on the bench, but on the court. In fact, I think that's what was hampering the Nuggets early on in the game, was they weren't communicating on the defensive end. There were a lot of blown assignments early on in this game that led to easy buckets for Golden State. But they kind of got that under control as the game went along. And to the point where this was one of the best defensive efforts of the season from this team.
I would definitely say by far. And
22 points they gave up in the first quarter.
And again, we may have to go back and double check this, but I'm almost certain that is the least amount of points they have given up in the first quarter all season.
Yeah.
And so just to see the Nuggets have that effort and that energy tonight, I think is important. One thing we know about Russell Westbrook, he is not afraid to say what needs to be said. I don't think he shies away from it.
Which is exactly what this team needs right now.
That's exactly what they need. But I think it became a lot clearer tonight when there weren't any competing voices. Because,
what are you saying there, KJ?
Well, listen, I'm
not saying you're wrong. I'm just curious what you're hinting at.
Listen. I'm just gonna spit it out. I love Nikola Jokic. I love Jamal Murray. But at the end of the day, their voices come and go. But Russell Westbrook's voice stays the same. Game in, game out, on the bus, in the locker room, when they working out in practice, when they're upstairs working out, getting their fitness time in, when it's time to do the cool downs, when it's time to head to the trainer's room and get the tape done. His voice remains the same. And he's just a guy who just doesn't deal with many injuries. He doesn't deal with many lapses in regards to you don't know if he's having a bad shooting night, whether his energy will start to decline. I'm sorry, some of our star players on this team over the years they struggled with that. Okay,
Michael Porter Jr. Hello, Michael Porter Jr. KJ.
Look, so
does that not describe him perfectly?
That describes
when he starts missing shots. Not only does he become hesitant to take shots, but his energy level goes way down.
Way down. And so let me ask you this, Dan. Let me ask you this. So if that is the case, the guys know Russ is the most consistent, most present voice. Early in the season, I made the silly statement of, well, how much will his voice be respected? He's coming off the bench. Scrap all that. If he's the most consistent, most present, most just like in-your-face person who brings the most out of the guys when he needs it the most, then look, am I wrong to say that he is the voice of the Nuggets? Like, Jokic may be the face of the Nuggets, but Westbrook is the voice of the Nuggets?
I think he's the tone setter for sure.
Okay.
And that could involve like him being the main voice. And I get what you're saying. Like, he's the most consistent.
Yep.
Like, he's just that he just is Russell Westbrook all the time. On and off the court. KJ, earlier on this season, actually it was very early in the season. I can't remember who I know they played in Toronto, but it was a back-to-back, okay, on the road early on this season. And this really stood out to me. And this is where I really like talking about Russell Westbrook. I was like, oh, wow. Like, this guy's a dog.
Man.
Malone talked about they're flying to Toronto, I believe, from whatever other city they were in. And, Russ is 37 years old, 18-year NBA vet. And Malone's kind of having a conversation with Russ on the plane. And remember, this is Malone telling the story. And he's like, Russ, like, you let me know when you need to take a breather, essentially, or take a night off is essentially what he was getting at.
Right.
And Russ's response was like, no, coach, I'm good. I'm playing. No, I got it. Like, no, I'm playing. And Malone was just kind of like, oh, all right, cool. Like, for a 17-year vet to just have that sort of mindset. And I'm not saying that other players on the Nuggets are doing that. I'm not saying they're taking nights off here or there, but that's kind of what I think you're saying. Yeah. For a 17-year vet to have that sort of mindset. And I guarantee you, KJ, he still has that exact same mindset 3 months later in game almost 70 now.
Right.
That you're right, man. He's sort of the heartbeat of this team.
He is. And again, I know in the playoffs that's usually reserved for Jamal Murray, but that's going to be tested this playoff run, and I can't wait to see it. Because if there's a moment where Jamal is not being Jamal, I'm sorry, man. I'm willing to die with the Russell Westbrook experience now, because at least I know the energy and the effort is going to be there. I've accepted the turnovers, right? I've accepted the crazy passes. I've accepted him wanting to make the big play. That's just who he is. That's his personality. He loves everybody. He wants to make the best play all the time. And so I know sometimes he puts himself in harm's way. But if at least he's trying to make a play, okay? And so
he's not afraid. He's not afraid to try to make a play.
He's not afraid.
That's the big difference, at least in my mind. I'm not trying to crush Michael Porter Jr., but man, like we said, when he struggles, not even early on in games, just at various points throughout the game, if his shot isn't falling, he just sort of shrinks into himself.
Right.
Whereas
he's by far
Russ,
the most noticeable.
Right. Whereas Russ, it's just like, I missed 5 shots in a row. I'm going to jack up another and see if it goes in. Like, that's his mindset. If Michael Porter Jr. had Russ's mindset, I would love to see that version of Michael Porter Jr.
Man, me and you both, man. I do think Mike struggles with, and this, out of all the takes I'll take back, I will stand 10 toes down on this, and I will take this one to the grave. I believe that MPJ struggles with taking more shots because he doesn't want to feel the wrath of Jamal Murray in the locker room.
Yes. Well, and probably Nikola Jokic too.
Well, sure.
The only reason I said that, KJ,
on when he takes the
go ahead.
shots. Depends on when he takes the shots.
Well, exactly. And because I remember earlier on in Michael's career, it doesn't happen as much now because they played together for so long. But I remember earlier, not that long ago, where Michael would put up a shot and you could see Nikola Jokic was visibly frustrated with him. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you'd get a little eye roll or some sort of negative body language out of Joker. Like, nothing crazy, but you could tell. If you were really watching, you could tell. And Jamal, I do think there's a little bit of an element there too. Which was, hey, I will say this. Something positive for Michael tonight. He came out early on in this game and he understood the assignment. Like, he put up a lot of shots early on in this game. Not all of them are great, and he started missing some and then kind of shrunk into himself. But to start the game, the first half, really, he understood the assignment. He knew he was going to have to score tonight. Now, the guys on the broadcast were saying, I think it was Dempsey and Vic actually said, Michael's going to have to put up at least 30 points tonight in order for the Nuggets to win. Well, he put up 21, but I don't think anybody was expecting Aaron Gordon to score near 40.
No.
So that was kind of the inverse there.
Dude,
but
Gordon was like a couple of points away from his career high.
Oh, yeah, he was like right there. There. He was phenomenal tonight. And it wasn't just his outside shooting. Dude, he was unbelievably physical down low underneath the basket, like multiple times in this game. And then he had that play where Draymond's trying to rip it away from him. Draymond ends up getting the foul and then complaining, of course. But Aaron Gordon was not only just dynamic offensively, and he was shooting the basketball unbelievably, but he also didn't take away from the physicality of his game, which is one of the things that makes him so great. That was really cool to see.
No, I agree 1,000%, man. Like the thing that stuck in my head the most from this game regarding AG, I forgot who put up the shot. I don't know if it was Jalen Pickett or Russell Westbrook, but someone throws up a 3-point heave and they miss. Aaron Gordon gets the rebound under the basket. It's 2 defenders there, including Draymond. He pump fakes to the left. I'm talking about Nikola Jokic, Hakeem Olajuwon back to the right on the drop step and just lays it in. I'm like, this is vintage Aaron Gordon right now. We don't see him pull out these type of post moves that often. And so it was like a little moment like that. And then defensively, just to see him continue to be in a position to where, I'm going to be honest with you, there were times where Jonathan Kuminga, where he typically would usually kind of try to dunk on fools. He couldn't dunk on fools tonight because Aaron Gordon was right there. And he knows that at the end of the day, Draymond Green is at the point in his career, he can probably catch a lob every 5 games. You can't throw him a lob every game. So,
Well, Steph Curry's dunked like once in the last 7 years. I mean, like, I can't believe Steph Curry is 37 years old. They said on the broadcast today, like, it's one of those things that but you kind of forget about it, and then you hear it, and it's like, oh my God, he was drafted the year I graduated high school. Holy cow. That's insane.
Well, that's one way to put perspective on it.
Yes, for sure. All right, KJ, we'll end with this. So our listener Storchio is asking, are you guys going to replay Vic doing his Irish dance off? I did find the video, so we can play it. This is Dempsey and Vic. I believe this is post game. Correct me if it says Nuggets win, so it's post. Did you happen to see it? I have not seen this yet.
I saw it. It was literally as soon as they went to the studio, which I was like, Vic, what are we doing?
Well, we're getting a request to play Vic's Irish dance off from he and Christopher Dempsey's post game show. It's like 40 seconds. I do want to see this because Vic is just a little absurd. I mean, I love the guy, but all right, let's just take a look here and see what Vic's got going on.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Listen, there's not much to talk about. You win a game without the MVP. You win a game without Jamal Murray, without Christian Brown, without Julian Strother on St. Patty's Day. That calls for an Irish jig.
Oh, yeah, do it.
I'm not sure how to do one, but here we go. Let's go to break. When we come back, Chris Dempsey will tell us how the Nuggets pulled off the biggest win of the year.
Okay.
Man.
I don't know what the Irish whatever he was trying to do. I mean, like, I kind of know what it is. That whatever that was not it. But hey, man, if I tried to do that, I'd look even dumber. So I can't dance at all.
Listen,
so
I'm a black guy with rhythm, and I still would look stupid. I can't die with that, bro.
They were doing the Irish dance in Mississippi all the time, KJ. They were teaching that in elementary school.
I think it's safe to say that wasn't something we got into in the South.
Yeah, they didn't teach that in elementary schools in Colorado either. So thank God. Thank God for that. I mean, clearly Vic's a Colorado native. He went to elementary school here too. So
well, don't forget he also went to Notre Dame. So.
That's true. Well, they should. If any school is going to teach it should be Notre Dame. That's actually a really good point.
It better be Notre Dame since they want to call themselves the Fighting Irish.
Yeah. They claim like all of Ireland. That's one of the things that bugs me about Notre Dame. They just claim Ireland. Like, you can be associated with it, but it's not yours. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just one of many things that bugs me about Notre Dame. But
well, Dan, let me say this, man, before I get out of here, man.
Yeah.
We won't have the conversation today, but it's definitely a conversation we'll have in the future. What motivates Jamal Murray?
Oh, that's a great question, man. Like, I would assume that it's winning another championship, right?
I don't know.
I mean, look, if that doesn't motivate not only just Jamal, but everybody on this team, then what are we doing here?
Right.
So I think it motivates Nikola Jokic. I think it motivates Aaron Gordon. I think it really motivates Russell Westbrook because he's looking for his first.
Else. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I do think it motivates Jamal, but I think there's different levels to that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep, I hear you.
Not everybody is motivated at the same level.
Right.
Like, Russell Westbrook's is up here. Maybe Joker's is here. Maybe Aaron Gordon's is right there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
And so I guess the question is, what level is Jamal's motivation at? Because I do think he's motivated. And look, Jamal Murray would not have come back in that Washington Wizards game from that really bad ankle turn if he wasn't motivated to help this team win. Right. So I'm not going to question his motivation, at least during the season, but you could go back to the offseason and question his motivation to get in shape in time for the start of the regular season too.
Right.
That's a great question, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing is like he's such a rare person. Like his motivation, it kind of grows with time.
He's a unique guy. He is. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but Jamal's a different cat. He's a different cat.
By far.
Is. So I don't know,
I
man.
don't know, man. That's a question I'm gonna continue to keep in my mind because the truth of the matter is, Dan, that's a question that I'm going to be asking myself as I watch him during the playoffs.
Well, that's what I was just going to say, KJ. We'll find out during the playoffs.
We sure will, man.
I think we will.
That's my number one thing. More than the turnovers, more than the ball control, more than when he's aggressive, when Jokic is out, all of that stuff. That's typical basketball nuance stuff. I want to see in his heart of heart what motivates him. Like, does his kid drive him? Does making sure that the legacy he leaves makes his dad proud because he knows how much work he put in?
Mm-hmm. With his dad training him.
With his dad training him. Like,
right.
I just want to see over time, man, all the little things that we've grown to love and know about Jamal Murray as far as the off the court stuff. Can it spark him when it matters most? Because if it doesn't, then what does? And that's something that I can't wait to see, man. I can't wait to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I think we're going to find out in the playoffs. And if we get the answer that we don't want, then they might need to make some changes.
Yep.
You know,
I agree wholeheartedly, man.
I hope they don't have to. I hope that by the end of this playoff run, whether that ends in a championship or, you know, even if they get knocked out in the second round like they did last year, I hope we're not sitting here saying Jamal Murray wasn't motivated to the level that we thought he was going to be. I hope we're not having that conversation. So
you just hit the nail on the head there, Dan. If the fact that this could be the last time that this version of the Nuggets is ever together, if that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. So there you go. Right. Yep.
All right, KJ. Great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate you hopping on the show. What a win. Holy cow. That was freaking awesome.
Great win.
Just this last 4 or 5 days, too. Like, just the worst win of the season, the worst loss of the season, followed by the best win of the season. This team is just... I don't know what this team is, but it's been a fun ride. So, KJ, you're the best, man. Thank you.
Man, appreciate you, Dan. Appreciate you for having me, my friend.
All right, there he goes, our guy KJ Granderson, as the Nuggets get the best win of the year, I think. I mean, I don't even think it's close. They've had some good wins this year. Heck, last Monday in Oklahoma City, that was an excellent win. But the circumstances of this game with Jokic, Murray, and Christian Brown being out, and you don't have Julian Strawther to help solidify your bench either. You're playing Spencer Jones 19 minutes tonight. Spencer Jones played 19 minutes, and he looked great. He was 3 of 4 from the field, 6 points. He was playing rock solid defense. He's not going to get time down the stretch here unless there's another scenario like tonight. But I tell you what, tonight's game from that kid gets me excited, at least as him potentially being somebody that can help this team in a year or 2 or 3 or whatever the case may be, because I thought he was fabulous tonight. So congratulations to Spencer Jones, by far his best NBA game. And what a win for the Denver Nuggets. Aaron Gordon was phenomenal. The Nuggets improved, by the way, to 44-25 on the season. They're tied record-wise with the Houston Rockets for the 2 seed. Now, Houston does have the tiebreaker, so technically the Nuggets stick in the 3rd seed, but they stay a game above LA, the Lakers, and Memphis. So that was a big win tonight. Huge win. If they lose this game, the Nuggets are in the 5 seed tonight. And by the way, the Warriors are right on their heels if they lose this game tonight. So this was a monster win for the Denver Nuggets as far as their chances of getting a top 3 seed in the West as we, gear towards the playoffs. But that's going to do it for the post-game show tonight, everybody. what a win. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back coming up on Wednesday for just another monster game at the Lakers. We'll see if, I don't know if LeBron's going to play. We'll keep you updated on that throughout tomorrow and Wednesday on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5 all day. And then they've got Portland Friday and Houston on Sunday. So you've got two teams, the next three games on the road that the Nuggets are battling with, right with in the standings in the Western Conference. So really, really big games coming up in the next couple of days. But what a win for the Nuggets tonight. That's going to do it for the post-game show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Dan Tanner. You've been listening to In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.